So Discord is rolling out a age verification system. So they're working with the KID, which is this tool set that basically helps you verify your age for this platform. So as of this week, people have to either show government ID or some other like actual documentation to prove that they are the age they say they are.
And they
Face
have to
scan.
get face scanned, or they can,
Yes.
is it either or?
Oh, it's either or. Yeah, it's face scan or ID. So I guess my baby face will throw off their scanners and say, "Oh my
Yeah,
God."
I mean, this is the equivalent of like getting your getting your older sibling to buy you beer at the convenience
Mm.
store, right? Welcome to Unboxing, Play and Profit for the Gaming Curious. I'm Lane Nooney.
And I'm Joost van Dreunen.
And we're here digging deep on why games matter in today's economy. On the docket today, Friday, February 13th, we received the latest answers from Yoast's Student Game Industry Survey, and we'll be talking later about Discord's new regime of facial recognition. All of that and more with your two very diligent co-hosts. But first, we've got some catching up to do. Whoa, what's up? How are you?
This tank.
The tank.
needs-
You gonna?
Let me just persuade the turtle to swim around.
Okay. Oh, this is great. So for listeners only, let me describe the scene. You may want to clip over to our YouTube to watch the full video, but Joost has today Joost is at home, and usually when he calls in from home, he's in his bedroom, but today he's in the living room, and behind him is
Go ahead,
the turtle that.
You want
Oh
strawberries?
wow, she moving.
Oh, dude, it's like this turtle never eats. Like it's
This
never
is
seen.
I believe her name is Turtley.
Yep.
Is that an apple or a strawberry?
Strawberry inbound.
She is booking it.
Just dive bombs in there. See, now you can see it. Do your little trick, turtle. Come on, do turtle tricks. Anyways, it's very
I
entertaining.
express existential concern every time I see this turtle that it does not have enough room. I'm like, what if I was in a box proportionally sized to me that was that large? And it really stresses me out.
Well, Lane, I hate to say this, but aren't you currently in your office? Is not proportionally sized? Well, I guess you have a door.
I leave my office, right? Yeah, every once in a while, someone, Linda Mills, drops a strawberry through the window, and I just
the faculty strawberry distributor.
When
comes
she's
in.
not, we're busy writing union-busting emails or telling us that the economic forecast of the university is really, really bad.
Have a strawberry. Now go teach something. That's fantastic.
That's right. That's your prize. Anyway, Joost, how many weeks into your class are you now?
I've done 2 real lectures, so 3 weeks. So this is my 4th week this week.
Okay.
So month 1 is almost in the books.
Amazing. I am teaching, so this semester, to remind viewers, I'm not teaching video games. I'm teaching history of media. So that's a big intro, 240-person lecture class. We just had our first test. That's how fast the class is moving. We start at 700,000 BCE, and we're already at 1,800. So
that like distant history just needs to be like things were so slow. They didn't have AI.
They were very slow. Yeah, it took like 300 years to go from pictograms to cuneiform. Like, there's not a lot to.
The past were so much worse at everything, and
I don't think that's the lesson of history.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, so unfortunately, this semester I won't have as much kind of fun student gamey insight to offer, but obviously always following the student experience. And Joost, you had your students. Is there like a container for the first month of you said first month's almost in the books. Is like, do you think about your class organization that way, or?
So I have 3 components, right? So it's sort of the 3 eras: games as a product, games as a service, and then what I call games as media, which is whatever the future of. And so to do games.
Were games not media before?
It's no, but it's more like games is like a flywheel or as an ecosystem, right? So it's not just you buy it at the store or you download some free to play thing on your computer. It's like theme parks and esports and the whole conversation around whether tech actually makes it better or worse.
Okay.
And so, go to see the new Nintendo movie, that kind of stuff. So we're currently in the first section where I started to talk about the basic foundation of the games industry, like what's the difference between a developer and a publisher, which is sort of like this recurrent question that a lot of people don't understand. And what's the value chain look like? Who makes how much money off the sale of a single unit, blah, blah, blah. And then with that sort of under your belt, then you can understand better why digitalization was this big transformational moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's next month, I guess.
So you had your students take the game survey,
Yes, I
which
did.
usually we do together in the fall.
I know.
But you've got your
I got to
your
fully
solo
loaded up.
results this time. Have you looked at them compared to last semester?
I did a little bit, but not. I haven't done any actual analysis. Like, so I could pull up last semester's as well. I think that might be
And
actually
did you change anything in our shared survey?
just copy and paste the
Okay,
whole thing.
great.
I did not feel the need to do so. It's also, I'm really big on being able to compare. Like, I find that that's really a valuable thing for me usually. So let's see. I had roughly the same amount of responses in absolute numbers, but I have some
Which was
different. Last time I had 47 responses. This time I have 43.
okay.
And so immediately the distribution of country is different. Last time I had 50% of people from the US, and the second largest category was 33% China.
Yeah.
This semester, drumroll, is 38% US and 40% China. So
Okay.
more
And so
trainings.
then there's still like 25% is just like everywhere else?
Yeah, so there's obviously Canada, and I have 5% out of Ecuador. So there you go. That's a new
That's
one for
what,
me.
one student, two students?
Two students.
Huh.
And then I guess like this is important for the Chinese users. There's also 10% out of Hong Kong. So I guess it's 50%
Yeah.
China and Hong Kong for me, which is substantial. Which is sort of an inversion from last semester, right? It was that ratio 50 and
Yeah, yeah,
33
yeah.
was
Yeah.
invert. So that's changed. I guess I'm big in China with this. The favorite devices haven't changed too much. Like the Switch is the same. I like that one, like the consoles are usually consistent. Like last semester, we had a lot of different people with like PlayStation 3, 4, fewer now, right? The biggest one seems to be the 5. That's really the second most popular one. And then the 360 is actually the most popular Microsoft console. That's
What?
really super. Yeah, that's weird. Why is that the case?
Not the
Yeah.
Xbox One?
No. Xbox One is the third in the Microsoft
That
category.
must be wait, so not even or not the I keep getting it. It's like I always forget that the XS, the Xbox X is like
Hmm, hmm,
so it's 360 XS
hmm,
1?
hmm.
I Oh,
It's the
weird. You're going to
this
have to
semester.
follow up about that.
This
I
semester
wonder if
is.
it has to be hand-me-downs, right? Like a lot of the students talk about getting their consoles from their, you know,
Mhm,
older sibling. And so I wonder if Xbox just doesn't have a lot of that the ones who do have Xboxes are getting them hand-me-down
mhm.
rather than actually buying new ones. Well, that's because everything's an Xbox now, Yost. Don't forget.
Everything, everything's an
Everything.
Xbox. My mother always used to say everything's a Nintendo. It's you know. So it's, a few things that are missing though is that I don't have any Switch 2s in here, 0%. Um, I
Did we
do
have that
have,
on the we didn't have that on the list as an option, right?
yeah, we did. Last time I had 4% or two out of my students had one.
But the Switch 2 hadn't come out when we did this last year, right?
In the fall of 2025, yeah, no, the Switch launched in April, May, so it
Oh,
had
the
been
Switch
out.
2? Okay. Okay, so no Switch 2s.
And then, I have no PlayStation Portals, and I have,
Shocked. How
and
many
I
Steam
have
Decks?
I was going to say it's like last time I had 19, this time I have 12%. So also
Okay.
less. It's really like the Switch seems to be the cool winner here. Now, immediately, of course, I have to ask the question, does that have something to do with the fact that more students are from China and Hong Kong? That's probably the case, but I just think that that's just a
That for
different,
why the Switch is so popular?
well, why the other consoles are less popular. Like also PC, much less popular. There's only one student that says they own a PC, a gaming PC, whereas last time I at least had two, I guess, but more.
Interesting. I wonder if you looked at it demographically, like could you actually slice the data according to the geography of the response rate?
It should
Because
be
I think
possible,
to
yeah.
me, I've always just taken this as I haven't thought about it as a, like if you're gonna have a console preference, I have just always thought the younger generation, in general,
Hmm.
prefer is Switch oriented, and that's, yeah, even in the United States.
Yeah. No, I think you're right about that. I mean, it's sort of. I mean, I'm seeing the next chart come up. It's like another indicator here. So there's obviously like sort of demographic slicing. But if nobody owns a PC, for instance, then why is it that everybody has a Steam account? I have 38 people, or 84% has a,
Well, you said they don't own a gaming PC, but
yeah.
like that's everyone owns a laptop.
Yeah, I suppose, I mean, that's the same ratio. I have only one person with a gaming laptop in the bunch. So
But I
like
mean, everyone has
maybe
a
that's
laptop.
that's an ambivalent question. It's like, is it because I remember 2 weeks ago somebody made the argument saying, oh, actually nowadays you can actually play a lot of these games on MacBooks and so on. Because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
sort of set up this usual trope of like Apple is terrible at games and here's why. And that seems
you
to
can
now,
play most of this, unless you're really trying to play something very graphically intense.
Mhm, mhm.
You can play just about anything. You know, you can play most of the shit on Steam on a regular contemporary laptop.
That's crazy. We've come so far, which explains why I have an overwhelming number. I have three-quarters of my students they play on Steam.
75%? Yeah, that sounds right. Or they have Steam accounts.
Well, that's their preferred digital storefront, right? So
Okay.
the Epic Game Store is roughly the same, like a one third. Itch.io, 15%, same as last semester. EA app, I dread it, is one of the entries. It's just like people are
The
like
write-ins are always good.
historically unimpressed. Yeah, so that hasn't changed much. But here's something that you will like to hear because it goes against everything you believe in. So I do have last semester, if you recall, we had one lonely person with a VR headset. Now I have two, I guess, lonely people with a VR
Wow.
headset.
Is that 100% growth? Is that
That's
what?
a 100%. Yoast predicts it's like 100% growth in VR based on student survey. No, it's great. So yeah, it still feels like an enormous minority, right? Like a
Yeah,
great.
I don't think we can assess that as trend, you know?
No, it's not enough data. It's
No.
hilarious. But the other technology that you like, blockchain. Last semester I had one person who played blockchain-based games. This semester I have four. An increase,
I
a
think there's
massive
something
four.
about the students who get into their top choice class in the fall versus the spring. I feel like there is a that like the spring horde just might be messier as people.
Hmm. Hmm. The spring horde. That's what I'm gonna call them. It's like you guys are the fall horde, I
Yeah.
guess.
The fall horde's on top of it, you know. They wanted to make sure they get the class before their last semester. Okay, so you got a little under 10% who play blockchain games. That's wild.
Yeah,
But still, like,
I'm gonna
yeah,
have to
yeah,
like
yeah.
drill down on that. Like, what are we doing here? But I keep coming back to your comment earlier, which is I think it has to do with the demographic shakeout of this class. Like, I think that is a meaningful, like the inversion of U.S. China being the dominant category of students, the largest. I think that that behavior is reflected in some of this.
Like more technologically exploratory, more interested in more kind of like cutting edge, quote unquote.
Yeah, that's a nice way of saying it. You know, but ownership is, like places like Korea and China, like people don't own hardware so much. It's like it's consoles are discouraged, so that probably explains why you see so few, why you see a 360 in there, but not much else. Why PC ownership is less because you go to cafes and you just log in and go from there. Like they all play League. There's so many people that are enamored by League of Legends that it's just impossible. So it also sort of seems consistent in that sense. The NFT stuff is a little surprising to me though.
Hmm.
I do have three liars. How many mobile games have you downloaded? None. Said three. I don't believe that. That it's just like an impossible number for me. But it's also three.
I think we also did we decide that was a dumb question and we should stop asking it? I feel
Oh,
like
it's just like a.
it doesn't tell us anything. Like
I think it's more like semester to semester. But so there's been quite a few people that have like, it's you would expect from a lot of the industry research that people are just downloading willy-nilly, but it's like it's really not the case. And I think it's, this is not a representative group, but it's sort of a signal in terms of like the future of consumption, perhaps. It's like it's actually very low. So seven of them, or sorry, 7% says no mobile games on their phone, and then 30% says only one or two. And so
hmm.
so those two groups combined last semester barely scratched 1 in 4. Now I have, almost 40%. So, not saying.
What is your gender demo?
Ooh, where is the gender question? Forget.
Did we ask gender?
I don't know. I think you were not interested in that.
Yeah,
No,
I
we
was
don't
just
have it.
wondering for your anecdotal, like sometimes
I don't have it in here. I could probably determine it based on the records, but I don't really want to include
it's
that
I
in
think
here.
I found my classes are usually kind of decently half or almost half, like they're pretty
Hmm.
split. But I often find that female identified students will disidentify as gamers,
Mm,
right? And like underestimate participation
mm,
in
mm,
gaming as an activity for what I think are kind of like sociocultural reasons, right? The cultural archetype of what a gamer is still, I think, kind of looms over a lot of
mm,
these discussions, you know?
mm, mm.
But
Yeah, no, 100%. The trend, I mean, this is something that I wish I had tracked on a numbers basis, even just like through just doing like a tally, right? That sort of like, I think this is how it shakes out every semester and then compare it over time. Because it used to be, of course, almost 100% male in my classroom, and it's the class has grown, but it's also shifted. I think I'm close to 50-50 at this point, but I don't have the data to back that up. Right? So if just sort of a quick visual survey, that's probably about right. It's more than a third that I would say is female identifying, and probably maybe a little less, but close to 50%. But give or take. Like what's interesting is that I have quite a big mix in terms of different faculties. So I do have the art students and the designers sitting right next to the sort of business aspiring folk and the business school students. So there's sort of a clear cultural diversity in the class, right? You get I constantly have students that will go, oh, I have to leave 10 minutes early because I have a job interview. Just sort of a typical thing at Stern. They constantly have like a job fair to go to, and so, but then they sit in the classroom like these fully dressed in a full suit with their resume ready. It is like, and that's their mind, their mindset. That's the culture of the school. And then you have the baggy pants, colored hair, designer crowd or whatever they do, and they're much more leisurely in how they just carry themselves. And so it's like this diversity, which is really really fun.
what
That's
are they what game are they was there any standout in terms of a game they're excited for?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me just scroll to that. So
Because we remember last semester it was, there was a wide range, but Silk Song was really kind of the took it away.
yeah, so the
Or are they all
current
just
one,
waiting around for GTA 6?
Stardew Valley is what This is the only standout one this semester.
Like multiple students that start. Is there supposed to be a new release? Uh-oh, I would love to know about that. Is there a new
I don't
update
think
coming down the pipe?
I don't think there's a new one now. Valorant, Hytale, Spiritfarer. There's some new names in here. Dave the
Well,
Diver.
those are all. What question are you looking at, Yost?
What game are you currently most excited about playing?
Okay, I think I was asking the what are they looking forward to?
Mm.
Because those are all games that have been out for a while. Yeah.
Oh, but no, we had the surprise one. I don't see the forward-looking one.
I thought we
Yeah.
asked to. Maybe we didn't. We don't need to do this on stream. But so okay, they're playing. So what are they playing? They're playing Stardew, Dave the Diver. I really tried that game and just could not get into it. Valorant. Give me the rundown.
Baldur's Gate. I mean, sort of the chess.com. That's a big video game.
Amazing.
That's fantastic. Elden Ring, I see a couple times. Forza Horizon, Helldivers, um, Arc Kirby Air Riders coming out. Okay. That's interesting. What else do we have? Sims, the finals. Really, the finals? Yeah,
Sims
Stardew
the
Valley
final.
is like, yeah, it's all in here. Spiritfarer, I haven't heard of that one yet.
You haven't heard of Spirit? Spiritfarer was a huge deal as a indie game that came out during the pandemic. That's been like a big staple of a lot of yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, that's a pretty, I would say, like widely played, well known game.
that's that's really interesting.
Smaller scale, more intimate, but
Yeah, so I mean, it seems relatively. It's like, if you recall, last semester the big ones were Minecraft and Silksong, which I think you pointed out Silksong already. So I don't see a lot of future. Like, it seems people are very satisfied with the games they already have. One
oh
thing that
yeah,
is very consistent is, like, last semester, my favorite game when I was 12 was Minecraft by far, and this semester, same. That hasn't changed. Oh, I think the question you were looking for was like, what was the last game you played that surprised you in a good or bad way? Sweet Home, Detroit Become Human. Whoa, that's a bit of a throwback. Dispatch, everybody liked that one, of course. Risk of Rain 2. It's remarkable. Overcooked and Genshin Impact. I keep hearing Genshin Impact.
do you not know
No,
about Genshin Impact?
no, of course I know about it, but it's like that thing. Yeah, no, really, tell me everything.
I
It's
mean, it's not, it's not what it once was, but
no, exactly. Like, that's
you
why it
know,
keeps coming up. They're saying, like, yeah, it sort of turned in some ways, but they're holding on, right?
okay.
Genshin Impact.
Interesting. And then
Yes.
what about things like board games? I play collectible card games. Like we were trying to ask
Mm-hmm,
about
mm-hmm. I was
related
just looking at that.
habits. We gotta move on to our next topics in a sec, but just trying to
So
get some.
41% plays board games regularly. That's a lot. And a third plays collectible card games. 14% has sports betting apps, and 7% actively places bet with those apps.
14% have sports betting apps.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a big jump.
what about what's the Discord use? Right?
Oh yeah. Let's talk about Discord use. To use Discord, 23% no, so 76% yes, which
Okay,
is
76% of
up
our
from
young
last.
people. Yeah. So, pretty soon, all of those students using Discord are going to have to
Mm-hmm.
do age verification face scan. Somehow, in all of the many news items of the last week, I overlooked this. Yost, can you catch me up on what's going on here?
So Discord is rolling out a age verification system because of a few reasons. One, of course, like, it's not a particularly safe environment for underage players or users. Historically, there's a lot of problems and predators that occur in these environments, and so they want to kind of make it safer to help grow their user base. They are also I mean, I'll give you so they're working with the KID, which is this tool set that basically helps you verify your age and for this platform. It does it for lots of platforms, but that's one of the integrations that they're using. And so as of this week, people have to either show government ID or some other like actual documentation to prove that they are the age that they say they are. And it
But
has and it involves a
and they
face
have to
scan.
get face scanned, or they can,
Yes.
is it either or?
That's a good question. I had it as either or. Let's see. It doesn't say. Hold on. Why doesn't it say it here? Oh, it's either or. Yeah, it's face scan or ID. So I guess my baby face will throw off their scanners and say, "Oh my
Yeah,
God."
I mean, this is the equivalent of like getting your getting your older sibling to buy you beer at the convenience
Mm,
store, right?
yeah.
Or like, I mean, every Chinese student we have knows how to get past this. You know, they are the true warriors among us. Like,
The real breakers of codes. No,
yeah, yeah,
it's not going well, right? Because now you end up like so. Let me give you the business scenario, and then I would love to hear your thoughts on like whether any of this is reasonable. So the reason they're doing this is, we could lead with, oh, predators and pedophiles, and it seems to be sort of a general current topic, but it's true that some of these environments and these communities have bad agents. Let's put it
yeah.
that way. It's not really a conversation that's sort of this demonstrably true. And so then they want to make that safer. Okay, great. They do that, of course, not out of the kindness of their heart exclusively. They also want to improve their business model. The big issue with Discord is that they have had a hard time or sort of been deliberately slow in rolling out an aggressive revenue model. They don't really monetize very well, right? So for all the users
Yeah.
that they have, it's 2024, they generated 600 million in revenue, which sounds like a lot to you, me personally, but that's for a company this size is not the case at all. And so, relative to like say Meta or any of the other sort of platforms out there. So they want to build it out, but to do that, they're exploring with direct consumer monetization in the form of Nitro, right, where you have this upgraded VIP experience, or increasingly advertising. And advertising is now becoming a bigger part of the pie for them. And in order to do that well, they have to first make it safe, but they also have to know people's demographic information. And so, in order to attract advertisers who want to have targeted ads, they're going to be doing that. And that's the layup to the next step, which is the recent swapping out of Jason Citron as the CEO into, I forget his name now, a new person towards an IPO. So they're going to take this
Towards an
company
IPO.
public. They submitted in early January their S1 documentation confidentially, so nobody knows anything except the SEC. But that
But
gives them all the information to then go get a public listing.
so this, they have opted into this. This is not because of changing legislative environments. This is not because of various like online safety laws like COSA or stuff like that that's tumbling down any kind of pipe. Um,
That's part of the context, but these are companies, and so while I am often the business guys on these in these conversations, it's like this is a for money organization. I do think that there is some general altruistic goodwill in all this, but they're looking at it as like we have 200 million monthly active users and we make little money. How do we make more money, right? And so, well, we have to clean house. We have to kind of make sure that we don't have all the trouble that would prevent us from making money, and age verification would be one of them.
but lots of other social media platforms don't do age verification at this
Hmm.
state.
I know. And
So what is
how's that going, right? I mean, really, like it's so. I mean, Roblox is running into this, right? And they will probably also do similar things. I'm not saying that it's going to be full China here, but the idea that you would have a social security number attached to your account is it doesn't seem so far removed as it once did, and certainly Meta and X, like to get your verification for those platforms, you have to show government ID as well, right?
no,
So you
you
can get
don't.
to be a verified user on X. Yes, you do.
To be a verified user on well, let's not get into like what it means to be a verified user on X, right? Because that's already. But like it used to be the case that to be a verified user on Twitter, you had to show that you had some cultural relevance, right? That was actually the hurdle, was that you had to be like an important person in the world,
Yeah,
right, to be
like a
verified.
Yes.
And then you just had to prove that you were that person, which is a slightly different model. But like Facebook does not require that you have an ID or something like that, right?
No.
And we certainly know from the preponderance of bots on platforms like X, like Blue Sky doesn't require this. I mean, I think in all of those cases, it's probably like it's probably easier to get demographic information from sites where people have pages and produce their own content,
Mm.
something like a Facebook or a Twitter. But it seems like this can't be like they could just be running language analysis on what people are posting about. That would seem to be a if they really wanted it. I just like I don't buy that this is like actually a effective way of producing advertising data.
Age verification is not an
You have a
effective way.
massive corpus of what people are doing on these sites. That is good
Yes, but
advertising data.
yes, you're not wrong, but there's a missing piece here, which in advertising alone isn't just like, oh, let me show the right person an ad. What they want in advertising is attribution. That's the holy grail, which means I showed you an ad and then you bought something based on it. Accordingly, you clicked through a thing or whatever, and then you made a purchase. Conventionally, it's not the case anymore, but sort of like Nielsen, as I first got to know, would have two divisions, which was watch and buy. And so you can guess what that means. Watch was measuring people watching television shows at night, and then buy would be consumer data at the store saying like, okay, so we spend a million bucks on ads for Seinfeld, and now we see that whatever we were promoting has a 5% increase in consumer spending. So they would correlate or connect those two dots. So like a dollar spent here comes back a dollar oh five there, whatever. So attribution in a digital setting is of course much richer, but the granularity requires that you have a little bit more access to people's sort of demographic information that you can truly attach it, because then it's zip codes, then it's it's not just demographic, like are you whatever your gender or age is or whatever. It's also going to be a whole bunch of economic indicators, and they just triangulated with as many databases as possible so that they can target more and more and more effectively. So this is precisely why IDFA came around in the App Store ecosystem with Apple and screwed Meta in such a big way, because they had incredibly accurate, identifiable information. They could tell exactly what people were doing. You know, how do you say, like you could see, based on all the data available, you could target very precisely for people that would want, I don't know, bridesmaids dresses or whatever, because you could kind of do that based on age, but you could see that, oh, your friend's getting married, you probably want to get a bridesmaid's dress. So I guess so they would triangulate friends' behavior as well. Apple kind of shut a lot of that down, not out of the kindness of their heart, but because long term they want to monetize their data themselves, of
But
course.
none of that requires like if the only thing they're testing against is a picture of my face, how does that help them do much of anything?
Well, so it's a slippery slope, because once we're doing that, then it's a matter of like, how do I now triangulate it and attribute it over time? It's like you'll probably be more likely to share more data down the road, right? And so it's a slow erosion of those barriers. Like
And so
my
you really don't
anonymity
see
is
this
is gone.
because this has already happened in the UK and Australia for Discord due to legislation at the national levels there. You don't see this as kind of like anticipatory, or that this is a purely
I do.
kind of
That's a good point.
hmm,
Yeah, that they want to be compatible with some of the regulation there. They
with the
don't want to.
regime?
Yes, that's a is regulation comes from the regime. It's
Sure
a
does.
The EU has a higher standards, and I think that they want to match those in some ways. I mean, the math is probably inclusive of all that, but the simplest formula here is just in order for Discord to have a successful IPO, they have to show revenue. To show revenue, they have to be able to like attract other businesses that will do business on their platform, and they're just going to require this. And so, you know, in some scenarios, you often hear, "Oh, we're giving up our privacy for the sake of security." Yeah, yeah, of course, that there's always that tension. Here, it is you're surrendering some of your privacy so that the platform can drive revenue, right? It's much simpler than that. Is there like a predatorial problem here? Sure, but my mind goes towards the monetization.
Mm,
I'll
mm.
be surprised if that's not the case.
Well, that is.
Well, let me ask you this question because I want you to give me at least 30 seconds of it. So do you see that is that going to be an erosion of the Discord community? Is that going to I don't think it's going to be an exodus, right? But so like how does this change it in your mind?
I mean, that's a great question. There's so if you don't go through the verification process, you just stay labeled as having teen access, right?
Hmm.
Which the what that means is you cannot, and teen access, the conditions on that is you can't access sensitive like images will be blurred, I think. And
Hmm.
then I mean, Discord is probably, you know, we don't talk enough probably about youth use of Discord. We fixate a lot
Hmm.
on Roblox, but when
Hmm.
those kids are actually going to meet and hang out with people they meet on Roblox, they're doing that in Discord,
Hmm.
right? And so, I mean, the issue is there's not another. Discord does kind of have the monopoly lockdown on this, right? There's not like another place to go for
Hmm.
your persistent large group or small group chats.
Hmm.
Um, I just had a friend group of mine. We were on Slack for, man, maybe 7, 8 years, and then Slack wanted to charge us to access our chat history.
Hmm.
You know, and we were just like we downloaded the whole thing and shared the zip drive among all of us, and we booted ourselves over to Discord.
We
Like, I
have.
would love the idea that the crunk answer is that like the youth are going to start getting on Slack, you know.
Hmm. Can you imagine?
um oh my god, that would be incredible. Yeah, I mean, to Discord's benefit, they have all the leverage, and it's unfortunate the fact that all of this is being driven by an IPO. Like, they make revenue. Do they have to make the most revenue all the time in the world? They do not, but that is what is most incentivized in this economic structure. And so we don't get to have nice things, right? Like, this is a perfect example. We don't get to have nice things because it's got to drive growth. It's got to have an IPO. Like, fucking does it? Does Discord need to have an IPO?
Yeah, that's a good question. I, I, I don't know if it needs an IPO. I mean, it would raise a little bit more than its annual revenue in terms of capital, but that's probably they're going to use it to like build things out, all stuff. So I
Yeah.
think this
Yeah.
is sort of like enshittification in
Yeah.
real time. Like you
Yeah.
could
We're
see
watching it
how the
slow roll.
challenges are emerging, and so then in order to make it, like once you decide you're on the road to an IPO, you have to show revenue, and
Yes, it
therefore,
completely reorients the way you think about the business. So, Yost, we got to transition out, but we want to do the exit ticket. Exit.
okay,
You got one?
yes, I got one. It's on this little piece of paper here. Won't show the name, but it's like that's the winner for me. So exit tickets for my students include a bunch of questions. This one is: are there any parallels that can be drawn between Atari and contemporary free-to-play companies? So
Wait, what?
go.
Could you repeat that?
Are there any parallels between Atari and contemporary free-to-play companies?
What?
So in last week's class, we talked about Atari and how it came up and
Okay.
then collapsed, right? And so what are the again, that's of course very much a product model. It's like, does it at all compare to current?
This was the best question you had?
No, this is the question on the best piece of paper. Do you want to
Um,
take this one? We can move on to another one.
if the student was in my office, I think what I would say is like, what parallels are you seeing?
Hmm.
Like, what is driving a question? What is motivating your perception that there that
Hmm.
there are parallels to discuss here, right?
Hmm.
Or what parallels do you think are here, and
Hmm.
what is the reality of them actually having any meaning, right? um it seems more like they're struggling to have something interesting to say about Atari, and
Hmm.
so, or to understand how to put it into a context, or to ask more questions about it. and instead they want to try to understand it by fusing it to something in the present, which is a very common conceptual and kind of learning maneuver. But there's almost so many differences that parallels is not exactly probably the most useful way of
Mhm.
answering, of trying to understand what a thing is.
Yeah. So I think that's a great answer. The if if I can peel one layer further, the class talked, among other things, also about how Atari ultimately contributed to the collapse of the games industry because it grew too quickly. And so one of the themes that, or one of the challenges that came up in that environment was growth. Like a company, so Atari grew from like 4,000 to
I mean,
10,000 people.
I would have a different reading of that, which is that the investor class was what took, like Atari in that context was just a vehicle for the investor class. Like they were the ones who grew it, right?
Mhm.
And they were the ones who scaled it, and then they copied that scaling at all the other companies that were doing that kind of cartridge-based production, and that was what crashed the industry.
Oh, yes, they all
I mean, it's a
assumed
subtlety, but I
demand.
think it's important for them, which is like this isn't about a company grew too fast. This is about like investor incentives are like fundamentally produce these kinds of outcomes.
Mhm. Yes, I agree with you on that. The stuff, the how we discussed it in class, which is what I think is the origin for this particular question, was that, you know, scaling a business always invites lack of quality, and my
Mm.
favorite thing of that is like, like you and me and Keaton, we could probably figure out how to get into, you know, we could throw a party between the three of us tonight. We know where to go. Everybody brings something. If we all invite all of our family members and now it's 1,000 people, it's just not going to happen today. Maybe in the future, right? So size creates its own complexity, and so Atari drowned because it just lost track of everything. It was just buying assets, and it was, administratively and bureaucratically it became impossible. Free to play companies, because they are also driving for scale, right? That's the whole point, because you convert so few players to spending and so on. How do you maintain quality control? And so all of those, of course, are incentivized by this idea, like the investor class, like you say, is like, hey, we put money in and we make it bigger. At the same time, it's like, they really struggled in a physical environment to do that well. In a digital environment, that's a little easier. Like, just setting up servers is a little cheaper than having entire offices and trucks and warehouses for cartridges, right? So I think that there is a parallel, but it's a good segue into like how the industry necessarily transitioned, because the digital model has all these benefits to scale and size, efficiencies, and so on. So,
Capital
but the,
capture,
yeah,
etc.
value capture, etc. Absolutely. So there's lots of parallels. There's a precursor, even though it was a physical one, as to questions that companies today are still trying to answer.
I mean, the industry is not as. I mean, the industry is less. Where the industry's center is not so clear
Hmm.
anymore
Hmm.
as it was in the early, late 70s, early 1980s. Right? There was not like one king that rules them all.
Yeah,
Right?
it's Tencent. It's in China. That's
And it's. But
no,
even if you remove Tencent from the equation, right? There's still like many other places value is being created, and it
mhm.
would be a hit. But it would like there's there's greater absorbency quality in the other sectors of the game industry at this stage.
Yes, yeah. The ecosystem has changed substantially, and so that's true, and it continues to change, right? So I think the incumbency of the U.S. is also declining in many
Yeah,
ways, and
yeah,
it's so
certainly
it's
no longer the case. Yeah,
well. So, I mean, I'll leave you with this. So I was at Dice this week, right? And so I had a bunch of conversations, and one of them that came up was like, we could talk about this some other time. This will be the cliffhanger. In our next episode, we'll discuss this. With the leverage buyout of Electronic Arts, the number of investable American game publishers is declining very quickly. Now we really have very little left. Like Ubisoft is about to privatize anyways, and so that leaves Take-Two and Roblox, and kind of not much else. And so as a investable group of companies, it wasn't just that you could invest in American companies. They also created an index of sort as to like how companies should perform and how to weigh other investments against it. Because investments in, say, Chinese game makers is relatively young, but it's also much more difficult in some ways because you have less visibility as a stock investor. Same thing with Japan. It's much harder to understand some of this stuff. And so people don't. And so they would favor the American stocks over all the other ones. But that is now declining at such pace that it's sort of like the bottom is kind of like the point of reference is disappearing. And so does that materially make it difficult for the industry to raise capital in the future because it just becomes a much more complex or I say deglobalized or in like a more like a compartmentalized effort. That was a big topic at DICE. It's like how do you deal with that in the next 10 years? So we'll talk about that then.
Interesting.
But
All right. That'll be our
it all
opener
fits
for
in.
next week. And we've got 1 minute left to let you go. All right. Thank you, listeners. Join us next week when Yost will finish his thoughts, and I maybe won't interrupt him as much. Sorry, baby.
It's all right. It's all right. You don't interrupt. This is why
Turtling.
we talk. Hey, get out of there. What are you doing? This turtle is a menace.
All right. On that note, good night and good game. Unboxing, Play and Profit for the Gaming Curious is an independent production by Joost van Dreunen and Lane Nooney. Our producer is Keaton Ireland. Our logo was designed by Moira Zhang. For more from Unboxing, subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.com/unboxingpodcast. Unboxing episodes can be found on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever else you get your content.